everyone loves Byzantium. And with everyone, I mean all of us guys, right? I mean, there are not so many people who actually hate Byzantium. Maybe there are most or the majority of humanity who is like indifferent to it. But I can tell you there are many hardcore fans of Byzantium. And there's even an expression to call them Byzantinophile or I don't know, something like this, but that's too technical, so let's just leave this out for the moment being. Yeah, I was talking about Byzantium or the Byzantine Empire, so today what if Saturday's scenario will be about Byzantium? What if Byzantium didn't fall? An interesting question which appears in numerous and tremendous numbers of forum posts in alternate history forums or also in the comment section of many alternate historian YouTubers. I see it very often also on Facebook being asked, or also just in general when you have like games, especially the paradox games, where you have a huge fraction of people who just love to play with Byzantium and then they ask themselves, yeah, but what if for real Byzantium wouldn't fall? Well, that's about this topic that I'm going to talk. And we have different points where we can start about it. And the first one would be fairly easy, I would say. The first point of divergence, please, Justinian the Great, don't go over to the Ostrogoths and don't conquer them. Don't waste your resources on them yet. I mean, it's fairly possible that Byzantium could really expand and if not re-establish at that point the old Roman borders. However, for the sake of surviving, I would say, and surviving in a really good shape, because even without Italy, Byzantium at that moment was just OP. You would not mess with these guys. You just wouldn't. And yeah, Justinian the Great, he was actually wasting a lot of resources, and he was also sending his best general over there. How is he called again? I forgot his name. Belisarius, exactly. That's the name of this general. He was absolutely legend, this guy. So if you have a good administrator with good military generals and a good ruler, and even in history writer, what's he called? I think Procopius. Well, then you just know you're in a golden age. However, you won't stay like this, right? And if you're wasting a lot of money, a lot of resources, and you're having people after you who are just bad, well, there won't be nothing left of an empire. That's why I also talked about Byzantium, which will come to the point later. Now let's say Justinian the Great, he doesn't go on to conquer the Ostrogoths for many reasons. And he would just actually focus on the eastern border, make fences, build defensive tactics, fortresses, walls, whatever pleases him, whatever was possible on that time. Just put most of it for the moment being on the east and try to survive the huge invasion of the Arabs. For sure, he would lose at the end, well, not he, but his successors. Egypt, parts of North Africa, maybe not, if they are really lucky. However, it's, let's say, 3/4 of the times I would say they would lose all of the African possessions and some parts of the Middle East, and then just retreat in the mountains of Eastern Anatolia, try maybe to have defensive tactics around the Caucasus region, and also try to take advantage of the sea that you have around you, the Black Sea, the Eastern Mediterranean, and also the Balkans, which are actually not really flatlands. So, and also with the river like the Danube, you still have a very good and huge river to start to have a normal, I mean, natural border and also natural defense. So, for that point, I would say if Justinian again doesn't go and conquer Italy or the Ostrogoths, he would have actually left Byzantium in a very good shape, and it would be really possible that Byzantium actually stays intact, even still a huge empire, if not the big player over there. And that's how I see them for the moment. Now we have different point of divergences that we can take, and one that I would never advise to take, because it's just ASB. Don't take the fall of Constantinople as point of divergence. Why? Well, because at that time there was nothing virtually left of an empire. You had a city, okay, you had like 50,000 inhabitants, you had maybe some places over there, some villages, but that was about it. And all around you, you had the Ottoman Empire. So you were just virtually an island in a huge sea of Otto kebabs. No, not Otto kebabs, sorry guys. I don't want to offend anyone, but hey, we're just making fun, right, aren't we? Now, there are two other points of divergence that I would like to present. And the first one I have in mind is the Battle of Manzikert, or Malazgirt, as you call it in Turkish, I guess. And in there, actually, it was not the battle itself that brought the Byzantine Empire. Yeah, I still call it empire in that point. That it was not the battle that brought them into the, how should I say, into the bad outcome or the defeat, but it was rather that Romanos was captured by the Seljuks, or I don't know how you call them in English, or well, you just pronounce them right, you know. But well, it was actually that the emperor, the Byzantine emperor, was conquered, not conquered, but kidnapped. And it caused, of course, a lot of trouble within the Byzantine Empire. So you had civil war, you had no defense, you know, there was just nobody who had authority at that moment. So, of course, just everyone was like doing whatever they want, you know. Because when there's no emperor, you are in an absolute total chaos. Now, even if they won, or if they won the battle actually, I would say that if they just won it for whatever reason, they would have no trouble to hold on all the territories that they had. Probably the Seljuks, they would just, you know, be like, nah, we don't want to attack them, and they would just go away from them, and they would maybe try to go to, try to get, I don't know, maybe like Egypt or other places of the Middle East. And another thing that is actually possible is that Byzantium could expand even, let's say in the Caucasus, or let's say if the Seljuk are actually beaten and they in return are having civil wars, the Byzantine would totally play them out against each other, because their diplomacy was always like this, that if there's one against another one, they will just totally play them against each other. So I could predict that there would be partitioning within the Seljuk Turk Empire, however you want to call it, and it would just be business as usual. Maybe they could expand, maybe they would lose again a bit, but the outcome of a win of the Battle of Manzikert would actually be a very good one for the Byzantine Empire. And it would lead to a good survival, if not even the retaining of an empire status, you know. And the other thing is, if they lost that battle without having their emperor being captured by them, well, they would lose it. They would be, of course, in a bad shape, but you should remember that the Byzantine Empire always, they suffered a lot of defeats, but they were able to recover somehow. Now, probably in some way, the Seljuks would take some territories. You would have some Turkish people who would then install themselves in eastern Anatolia and so on, but I would suggest there are far less, as there is the stability within the Byzantine Empire. And also we should not forget to add in the soldiers, who are actually paid by lands, and they would even so still try to independently get their land back or defend their lands from invaders. Now, such a Byzantine Empire could look like more or less as the one as I presented now before, when they would have won the Battle of Manzikert, but having probably lost some parts of Anatolia, maybe not immediately, but for sure a bit later, as there are Turkish settlers who came and also other various settlers who just came. Probably it would shrink a bit, but it would not totally be in a state of chaos. Which leaves me now to another option. And I'm talking about the Fourth Crusade. As you know, the Fourth Crusade happened, I think, around 1200 something. I'm not having the date now totally in my mind, but having, let's say, the Battle of Manzikert been won, I would say you shouldn't worry about the Crusades. If they lost it, well, there would be a higher chance for the Fourth Crusade to be happening. Why? Well, because even if the emperor was actually not captured by the Seljuks, they would still probably lose some territories, where we could actually be really safe to say that Jerusalem would also be lost, maybe by some Arabs, maybe by some Turkish tribes, whatever, or even the Mongols, we don't know. But even so, there would actually be a bigger chance for it to happen, as the Byzantine Empire would not maybe ask their Western brothers for help, but the Western brothers, they would just see, well, at first they would plan to take Jerusalem, but then they see, oh, you know, there's a lot of money within Constantinople. And Constantinople was, even in the 1200s, a city full of legends. I mean, it was still a very important city that you just couldn't ignore, you know. And there was a lot of wealth, there was still a lot of trade, just because of the geographical position, and there was wealth. If soldiers and mercenaries are not paid, they will make sure that they are somehow else paid, right? And that's where all the issue will start. Now, they actually, in original timeline, made a huge mess over there. And it was that point where I would say, it's safe to say, Byzantium, goodbye. If that didn't happen, we have a chance to have a stable, Greek-speaking nation-state within Greece, some parts of Albania, some parts of Bulgaria, some parts of today's Turkey, maybe even including Cyprus, we don't know. But there would be a much higher chance of it to happen. However, new estimates say that the Byzantine Empire actually had a very good economy even after the Fourth Crusade. There was a lot of economic recovery. And actually, there was also not really the same level of feudalism as in Western Europe. So, what we can actually say is that, for instance, the landowners in Byzantium at that time, they were actually responsible for paying taxes to their tenants. And also, the other thing is that there was, even before the Renaissance, another form of recovery within the Byzantine Empire, where you had a lot of products coming up in the markets that were cultivated, and this stayed like this until the Ottoman conquest. And also there was a lot of urban centers that continued to grow because of this economic recovery. And basically, with economy, you know, there comes the money, and with money you can actually have more possibilities. And now, of course, there are still the Mongols who will come. But, as we know, Byzantium, as they did in OTL, they would just pay tributes. And they would just be calm for that time being. Having this economic recovery, more economic structures, they would actually even survive from all the centuries before. They could be able to do so. But the problem is not actually the crusade that happened. It was more like the rivalry that resulted between the Palaiologite and the Lascarid. So they were like two dynasties, and as you know, Byzantium was then like split in different tinier parts. In Nicaea, the Latin Empire, then Trebizond, Morea, and so on and so on. I don't want to bombard you with details. And it was all of this Balkanization that made them very weak. And now let's say if somehow at least Nicaea and the Latin Empire were able to put away all these differences that they had, and maybe even enter in a royal marriage, personal union, and so on and so on, it would be actually really, really likely that such a union would be reliable and also very stable. It could survive like this, probably not as a huge empire, but they would be limited within Greek-speaking areas, which were still very, very extended at that time. So you could have, I don't know, I would include probably Western Anatolia, all of Greece for sure, Epirus, some parts of Bulgaria, Cyprus perhaps too, but less than I said before. And well, Crimea actually no, Crimea not really. So it's actually in that point most likely, and the very last grasp that you could take as possibility to have a surviving Byzantium. Now, if you want to still have an empire, a Byzantine empire, you have to go, as I said before, back to Justinian the Great, and him not having attacked Italy, and in a very small chance the Battle of Manzikert should be won, and of course the emperor should not be taken hostage. Of course, guys, I know you have probably much better ideas than me, but I just want to put forward these ideas that I have, that I read about, that I think personally are good ideas. If you have better ideas, just tell them in the comments, guys. And I hope you enjoyed my video. So see you next time on my video here in Althistory Luxembourg. Have a nice day. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe, give a comment, give a like, and watch all the other videos that I have on my channel. Have a great day.